make sure you're subscribed to JerCrispy.
What's up, y'all? I chose the most dead to most. JerCrispy, we're back in that video. The Bikini Bottom Hospital. Anyways, the Bikini Bottom Hospital theory. I don't know if I had to sneeze, cough, bro. I don't even know. Following my right here. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow social media is going to pop on the screen. And we're on the road to 500. Let's get it.
Hospital. It's an establishment set up for one and only one goal: money. Their job isn't to heal patients, it's to scam them as much as possible so they can fill their pockets. They'll go to any lengths to save money, even if it means leaving people to die. But they aren't doing it for themselves, they're doing it for the man behind the whole operation. Let's inspect the Bikini Bottom Hospital theory. The Bikini Bottom Hospital is one of the few medical centers in the city, but despite being the biggest one, it's by far the most dangerous. You'd think a hospital would be safe, but just look at what they did to SpongeBob in the episode I Had an Accident. After SpongeBob got into a sandboarding accident, he was rushed to the hospital. It took 20 hours, but the surgery was a success. The doctor said he would make a full recovery, but then showed us something interesting.
Damn.
Instead of using normal methods to fix SpongeBob, he used staples and glue. And these aren't the industrial ones, they're normal staplers and glue sticks you can get at the store. Not only did the doctor do a faulty job, but he also lied to SpongeBob saying that he'd made a full recovery. And you'd think this is a one-time thing, but that's not true. In the episode Code Yellow, the doctors prescribed a patient without even examining them. It's not an accident, it's deliberate negligence. And we see something similar in the episode Shellback Shenanigans.
So basically, like, the doctor is not really taking care of the patient, they just only there for the money and stuff like that.
After SpongeBob brings Gary, who's actually Plankton, to the hospital, the staff freaks out. They're weirded out by his color and clearly think something's wrong with him. They wrap him up and tell SpongeBob that there's nothing they can do and suggest he let nature take its course. In other words, they're telling SpongeBob that Gary is going to die and sending them home. How did they come to that conclusion after finding nothing wrong in the test? That just doesn't make sense. It seems like they've given up after finding nothing wrong and done their part, despite doing nothing. What makes it worse is that this isn't the only time they do this. In the episode Demolition Doofus, they misdiagnose Mrs. Puff, just like they did Plankton. After she and SpongeBob get into a crash, Mrs. Puff can't puff anymore. The doctor makes it clear that she will never puff up again with this weird chart. But at the end of the episode, Mrs. Puff returns right back to how she was at the start, before the accident. It's the same thing.
So it's basically they telling you lies just to get your money, and like the Bikini Bottom people is straight like listening to them because of course it's the hospital and stuff like that. Who wouldn't listen to the hospital? That's like I say, you could never listen to what a doctor say. Or you can never listen what hospitals say. If you feel it in your body, in your mind, your soul of lacking of what you're doing, like let's say you eating lack of fruits, man, or a lack of, high cholesterol and stuff like that, or this and that, man, just do what you gotta do. Do your research online. If you gotta eat fruits, eat some peanuts, man, eat some dark chocolate. Eggs, some like healthy stuff to get your stuff back, or Cheerios and all that, bro.
Was with Plankton. They clearly came to a wrong conclusion after doing basically nothing. But this is worse than being wrong, it's pretending to help. Not only did they give Mrs. Puff a life-changing diagnosis, but they were wrong. And it's not just about misdiagnoses, sometimes they just make up diseases to get patients off their backs. Like in the episode Squid Baby, they did something far worse than lying. After getting injured, SpongeBob and Patrick take Squidward to the hospital. Once there, a doctor diagnosed Squidward with this.
Your friend has a condition known by the medical term of head-go-boom-boom-itis.
As if the diagnosis is already not real, he also told SpongeBob to take Squidward home after clearly seeing that he's very injured. What makes it worse is that after this, he advises SpongeBob to make sure Squidward doesn't hit his head again. Not only did he add exactly nothing to the situation, but he also gave generic advice which anyone could have given. He quite literally did nothing.
What if whole time it's not really a doctor? It's just an actor paying to see what SpongeBob and Patrick and them do on a daily life. Like low key, and he just got so well at the job, he thought he really was a doctor. I'm going with that theory.
So why is the hospital doing this? After all, wouldn't it make more sense to provide good healthcare? Not only would more
Thanks.
people visit to get treated, but they'd also be well liked and respected. Well, it has something to do with the hospital's main motives. So we already know that the hospital is being bad on purpose. But why? They don't gain anything from providing bad service. Or do they? In the episode Krusty Towers, Mr. Krabs makes a hotel and long story short, it gets destroyed. The whole gang ends up in the hospital and eventually, Mr. Krabs gets the bill. Now, as if it's already not professional to give him the bill while he's still sick, we see something interesting on this bill. You have the regular stuff like charges for a bed, the bandages, and even medication. But why is there a charge for room service? This isn't a hotel, it's a hospital. They give you plain hospital food which is free for patients. So if this isn't a charge for food, then what is it for? And before you say maybe Mr. Krabs got room service, remember, this is the same guy who sold SpongeBob for 62 cents.
I forgot, yeah. Nigga, I would never fuck. I see you saying I would have never fucked with Mr. Krabs after this part right here saying, nigga really saw that nigga for some 67 cents.
If there's free food, he's gonna take it. And that's when we realize this isn't a charge for something he ordered, it's a charge for something that never happened. And once you notice that, the bill stops looking like a mistake and starts looking like a pattern. Because this isn't the only time the hospital shadily profits from someone getting hurt. In the episode My Leg, Fred, the My Leg guy, goes to get his leg fixed. There, the doctor straight up admits that Fred's surgeries put his daughter through college. He isn't even trying to hide the fact that Fred getting injured is going to benefit him. In fact, after Fred tells the doctor not to worry, the doctor threatens to replace his leg with a robot leg. Now, this might seem like a good gesture, something to get Fred to stop breaking his leg. But you have to remember that turning Fred into a cyborg would cost far more than just fixing his leg again. And it's not like Fred's leg is broken forever, it can be fixed. But the doctor's just telling him that he won't do it. The doctor doesn't care about making sure Fred is healthy, he just wants to force him to pay as much as possible. But what really makes this worse is that this isn't just one doctor, it's all of them. And in the season 4 episode The Lost Mattress, we see exactly why. In the episode, Mr. Krabs ends up in a money coma after losing all his money and is taken to the hospital. After getting there, the rest of them leave to find his lost cash. While he's there, the doctor realizes that he doesn't have insurance and takes him off life support because he can't pay. He asks the nurse to throw him in the hallway, which she does, next to the vending machine. But the doctors need access to their candy, so Mr. Krabs ends up being thrown out of the hospital. Eventually, an administrator of the hospital shows up and complains about Mr. Krabs being outside. The doctor gives the order and the nurse goes outside and pushes Mr. Krabs down the hill. Remember this administrator because he says something very important which we're going to come back to later. And this is where we realize the hospital's main motivation is money. They're willing to go so far just to make sure they get paid. And this isn't just the doctors and the nurses, but also the higher-ups like the administrators. They care about money and see it as their only goal, above curing patients. To them, money matters more than the health of the people. And when a system behaves like this, it's not an accident. This mentality actually makes sense when you learn who the hospital was made by. In the season 14 episode Hysterical History, we learn that Mr. Puff not only made the assembly line, but also the hospital nearby.
Being a shrewd industrialist, Mr. Puff also owned the hospital next door.
He, being an industrialist, saw
That's the first time we actually seen Mr. Puff, man. Shit, I thought Mr. Puff got killed. I swear. They need to explain this then. That was an old Mr. Puff or something. I don't know. Must be a dad or something like that. I don't know.
only one goal, money. And while that was a while ago as boats have come a long way, the hospital has continued that money-hungry mindset with money being their only goal. And when you think about it, their actions start to make sense. They did everything they did to save money. All their operations and diagnoses are given with profits in mind. They prescribe patients without examinations because they want them to come back to treat them more. They have all these incorrect diagnoses because they want to give false hope, so eventually, people will come back. They're doing all this because it's part of their plan to make sure the hospital earns as much as possible. But how far is the hospital willing to go to save money? They've already made fake bills and lied. How much further can they go? Well, it turns out, we haven't even scratched the surface of how twisted this hospital truly is.
Fake doctors.
So we previously mentioned how the doctors underperformed and we blamed it on them trying to make extra money. But that might not be the only reason they can't do their work correctly. There's something else stopping them.
So hold on, my theory might be coming to true. What if this is a whole actor the whole time and watching SpongeBob and Patrick and them and messing them up on purpose so they can get extra money? Because spying on them is not really getting no money. They just trying to analyze and data and stuff like that and in a good, cool fashion.
Be skill. In the episode All That Glitters, a doctor reveals something interesting.
Oh, I'm not a doctor. I'm an actor researching for a role.
See,
So it turns out, this guy isn't even a real doctor, yet he's allowed to operate and treat patients. And this isn't something the doctor says as a joke. He doubles down when SpongeBob asks him if he got the part, which he didn't. It's clear that this man is not a doctor, yet we regularly see him dealing with patients around the hospital. In fact, he's the same dude who asked the nurse to kick out Mr. Krabs. You'd think that this guy wouldn't be allowed to perform life-saving surgeries, but that sadly is not true. Because in the episode Teacher's Pests, he operated on SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton after an accident. But instead of doing his job correctly, he created this monstrosity. Remember, he's seen Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob before, yet he said that he didn't know what body parts go where. It's clear that he's just an actor and unqualified to perform important surgeries. And he's not the only phony doctor there. He might be the only actor, but he's one of the many unqualified doctors in the hospital. And we learn.
Real question, why that nigga hands turn different colors, bro? Hold on, wait a minute, son. Cause that thing in the earlier season, his stuff purple, now his stuff is brown. Somebody need to explain something about
why
that.
that is in the episode Code Yellow. After SpongeBob joins the doctors, they allow him to perform Squidward's nose job. When they get to the operating room, there's an observing deck allowing other doctors and students to see professionals so they can learn. SpongeBob goes into the room to operate on Squidward, but before that, he greets everyone. Everyone greets back, but listen closely to what they say.
Hi, SpongeBob!
They mention SpongeBob by his name, all of them. They know who SpongeBob is, and more importantly, they know that he isn't a doctor. And despite all of them knowing this, none of them stop him. They all allow him to do the surgery, which he clearly messes up a lot. And this reveals something huge. It's not just the actor that's an unqualified doctor, it's nearly all of them. They all were well aware of what was going on and didn't stop him. What's worse is that he keeps messing up, but still, no one stops him. And you start to realize why this hospital has bad doctors. Not only are the senior doctors not doing anything, but they're teaching the students that this is okay, that this is normal. These students will grow to be like their seniors and the cycle will repeat. In fact, we've already seen this cycle take place. Pay close attention to this doctor right here. He looks oddly familiar, almost like we've seen him before. And if you look back to the episode My Leg, you'll realize this is the same doctor. He was once a student and now he's grown up to act like his seniors. The cycle never stops. Now there's one thing a few of you may have noticed. The doctor in Code Yellow is yellow, and the same doctor in My Leg is purple. How did he change color? Well, it turns out he's not the only doctor that can do that. Just to simplify things, we're gonna look at the most recognizable doctor, this guy. Normally, he's all purple like in the episode Suds. But when we first saw him, he was purple with orange hands in I Was a Teenage Gary, and later in the episode Don't Make Me Laugh. Sometimes he has hands, other times he has fins. But by far the weirdest he's looked was in the episode Once Bitten, where he was bright orange. How did this guy and many other doctors switch colors? Well, the truth is, this isn't their skin, These are their costumes.
Oh.
Think about it. One of the doctors admitted that he's an actor, and the other doctors aren't any different. They aren't real medical professionals, they're people dressed well enough to pass as doctors.
Okay.
They only get paid to pretend, not to be real. And because they put on a disguise, everyone trusts them, no matter who's under the costume. So with nearly every doctor in the hospital being fake, what's even the purpose anymore?
Right.
The hospital doesn't care about patients, nor do they provide real professionals to treat people. So why do they even exist? Well, this leads us to a very dark question. Is the hospital even real? So there's always been a weird running gag in the show. Whenever someone gets injured, the ambulance shows up right away.
Right.
Take a look at the episode Funny Pants. After Squidward laughs uncontrollably, he collapses. Without anyone calling, the ambulance just shows up and takes him to the hospital. This is quite weird because you usually have to call 911, then they show up, take the
Right.
person, and leave you with a charge of 11 grand. Here, Squidward was just picked up. No call, no charge, nothing. And Squidward isn't special.
But what if, like, listen, I got another one. I know it's late as a bit, bro. But what if whole time the doctor already know when the perfect time, perfect place? What if they on some, like, you know how SpongeBob and Patrick was cheating for him for the driving test? What if they got a big ass scope right there, watching everybody move, and they were waiting on Squidward to fall, and they have already got like a bunch of hospitals, like hospital cars and ambulance cars, like just sitting there waiting, plotting every corner, but they don't know. But it's deep in the skies or something like that. It's like blending with the rocks and stuff like that, like on some smooth stuff.
This happened to other characters in episodes like Plankton's Regular and My Leg. The characters would get injured and the ambulance would just show up out of nowhere. This isn't an accident, it's done with intent. As we know, the hospital is money hungry and does anything for a quick buck. By sending their ambulances out to patrol the city, they can get more patients because they won't have a choice. If someone's injured and an ambulance shows up, they're not going to resist. It allows the hospital to get more customers while seeming helpful. And we kinda get confirmation to this in the episode Born Again Crabs. At the start, SpongeBob finds an old patty and tries to throw it away. Mr. Krabs catches him and forces him to sell it no matter what. After a couple of days, no one shows up to the restaurant because they don't want a rotten patty. So to prove that the patty's sellable, Mr. Krabs himself eats it. But right before he's about to take a bite, we see something interesting. In the distance, an ambulance is approaching the restaurant. Mr. Krabs even acknowledges it before he takes a bite of the patty. The next second, he's being taken to an operating room. Not only did that ambulance have its lights on, but it was just going past the Krusty Krab. If it had someone inside, Mr. Krabs would have had to wait longer to get to the hospital. But he got there right as he was turning sick, indicating that he got that very ambulance that was randomly passing by the Krusty Krab. They saw that he was sick and picked him up and took him to the hospital. It's the same story with everyone else. They get injured, the ambulance shows up, and they have no choice but to get in. It explains why the people still go to the hospital. Despite the fake doctors, the money mindset, and even the random ambulances, people still go because on some level, they don't have a choice. The choice is made for them when they get injured. And this is where we realize something important. This isn't a hospital, it's a patient harvesting business. They don't provide real care, they overcharge, and they always look for patients. They're acting like a for-profit business instead of a hospital trying to help. And maybe that's because that's what they are. If we go back to the episode The Lost Mattress, the administrator had something very interesting to say.
Oh, what were you thinking, man? We're trying to run a business here. We can't leave patients on the sidewalk.
We're trying to run a business here. We can't leave the patients on the sidewalk. He's not even trying to hide it. But why are they allowed to do this? Why does no one do anything to stop them? Surely people have realized by now that they're evil, right? Well, it might be because they're being protected by a much stronger force.
And who's that?
So by now, it's clear that the hospital isn't acting alone. Something like this can't exist without protection. The fake doctors, forced ambulances, fraud bills, None of that exists without a powerful observer. And in Bikini Bottom, that power is the government. I already made a whole video about Bikini Bottom's government, so I'm not going to get into it. But basically, the city is run by one person who only cares about themselves. Someone who puts profit over the people. That person is the mayor. Throughout the show, the mayor's repeatedly shown his true intentions. He's opened unfinished bridges, he sucked up to the rich, he even worked with Plankton just for money. In fact, he's the whole reason the jails are full in the city. This isn't incompetence, it's negligence. As long as he gets paid, he'll gladly look the other way. And that's exactly what happens with the hospital. We know from the season 14 episode Hysterical History that the hospital was founded by Mr. Puff, a man driven by profit. But even he delivered on what he promised to the people, like his cars. That corruption came later. Once he left, people stopped caring. By doing nothing, the mayors allowed the hospital to cut as many corners as they want. Fake doctors, extra charges, predatory ambulances, all of them. As long as he gets paid, none of it mattered. But here's the important part, this is the only medical place that acts like this. In the episode No Nose Knows, we see another medical institution. After Patrick realizes he doesn't have a nose.
This had to be the most craziest episode of far. But I don't know, the mayor might have something to do with that. But like, I'm still going back to my theory, man. The other one, I feel like they got buku, ambulance car waiting outside, knowing when they about to fall out or something like that. Or they got cameras around the thing. You know how that special, right? It's SpongeBob special. Y'all know how Mr. Krabs had all them cameras in his like office, and it was annoying. No way, like be and stuff like that. They got everybody's house and stuff like that. What if the mayor got that? Well, connected to the ambulance and stuff like that with the hospital.
He decides to go get one, but he doesn't go to the hospital like Squidward, he goes somewhere else. The store allows him to pick a nose and does the procedure. And you know what? They did a pretty good job. Patrick's nose is big, works, and sorta makes sense. It's not like Squidward who went to get his nose fixed and ended up with the exact same nose. This happened because Patrick didn't choose the hospital. He chose another place that actually delivered on what was asked of them. Since the government has no agreement with them, they actually have to provide the medical care patients ask for. They can't exploit patients or cut corners, they have to deliver on what they said. And this pretty much exposes everything. The hospital isn't corrupt because the city's broken, it's corrupt because the government allows it.
That's crazy. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media, pop on the screen. We're on the road to 500, and I'm out.